Okay, let's get start demo first. So this is a series of generic repository with unit of work. So we implement here only just repository, generic repository. So let's see that how's work this generic repository with get, post, get yd, post and delete, all the CRUD operations. So let's get start first for get. So try it now, execute. So I can get the list, all of the list of with the generic repository. Okay, and then also if I go to adding a new list, a new product, so I can just add a computer. Okay, and then put some price like 5-6 thousand only, execute. Let's see. Yes, it is also return me the response whatever I just added. Okay, with this 201. Also if you go to that id, whatever id, it's 9. So if I return back to get y id 9, so definitely I will get this data. Okay, whatever just newly created. Okay, same things if I want to update something on this same data with the 9 and then just change to whatever I use just computer to like desktop. Okay, and then price would be also changed like 9,000 on something. And then if execute, if you get see the response, the response you are just getting is 201 204. That's success. Okay, and let me verify that that is updated or not. Let me put again execute 9 and see it is just changed to laptop to desktop. Okay, with this price as well. And then finally it's delete. So I'm just trying to delete. So let me try to delete that same one, execute. Okay, now getting 204, and that means it is succeed. And also let me verify again to here with this get by endpoint. Okay, now see, not found, that means that id is not there. Okay, so this all of things will just implement in this session. Okay, yeah, but upcoming session will implement also at unit of work because this is that series only. So let's get start from the scratch. So let me open a Visual Studio, and this will create, this application will create in .NET 8. So this is just release. Okay, so let me create a new project and choose a ASP.NET Core Web API. Okay, choose next. Okay, let me add web applications web API. Okay, so it is web API, then choose your locations and then choose next. I choose 8. Okay, and also I just use default things, whatever default settings. Okay, so once it's created, now you can see the application. Okay, so it is just created .NET 8. So is, it is just pretty much similar for previous version, but yeah, it's just if you see that architecture in one file newly added. Okay, so this is help to get the response and get send the request. Okay, so you don't require another third party tool, so you can just verify your application, API inside this application as well. So that is that newly added. Okay, so that is fine. So what I need to do first, so let me just create a folder first. Okay, so let me rename it. It's called a repository. Okay, and let me create a new generic repository. So choose a new interface. Okay, and let's call iRepository. Once it's created, so what I need to do further, just you have to create a generic. So it's it specifies a generic. Okay, and then you just specify it's only just accepting the class, so using that generic type and then class. Okay, and then whatever you know uh, method you want to implement, you can specify over here. Okay, so what I will just implement over here, just few of that, normally we have using like get post, get post delete and read get by id. Okay, so yeah, get all async, now get by id, add, and let me zoom in for you. Okay, so these are normal, normal or just generic uh, operations. Okay, and you can add more. Okay, not only just limited for this, you can add more. Okay, so make sure like you are just specify the generic type. Okay, that is important. Okay, then what need to do, I need to implement that generic implementation. Okay, so let me create a class, implementation class, and call it to repository. Okay, now what need to do, just you have just mention again that generic type. Okay, make it class is a generic, and then specify, inherit your generic repository which is just created. Okay, so just repository. Okay, so this is that one. And also just again specify your things. Okay, generic things. Okay, generic entity type, and then specify your class. Okay, and it will complaining you to implement all the methods because just we have declaration over there, right? So let me just implement. Okay, implement interface. So once you implement, you will get this all the things, right? So what I need to do, I need to before that, okay, before repository implementation, we need to record some DB. Okay, so either you can use in memory in memory DB, or you can just use SQL Server or SQLite, whatever. Okay, so we'll use over here in SQL Server. Okay, and with the DB entity framework. So let me add then DB context class first. Okay, so what need to do? Just need to add another folder for data. Okay, and just create a db context class over here. Okay, so let me create a class name is it is my db context. Okay, and okay, so once it's created your class, okay, now need to implement over here. So how we can implement, actually we have to implement db context over here, db context. Okay, and definitely require this namespace. So let me bring that namespace directly over here, or you can just go to NuGet package over. Okay, so let me import directly over here. It is a nice feature Visual Studio provide us to directly import your NuGet packages. Okay, so now it's there. Okay, now what I need to do, I need to just create a, okay, let me create a constructor CTOR. Okay, and then here I need to just pass some configuration so that whatever DB context actually configuration that DB connection string, so we can pass it over here. So how we can do that, which is very easy. DB context, DB context options. So choose that DB context option and just specify the variable and just pass it to as a base class, this db context options. Okay, so whatever db context options you are passing in the inside, so that will pass it to your db context class object. Okay, so that is done. So just remove whatever extra things over here. Okay, now what need to do, I just need to create some model entity or some more entity as well. So let me add some entity actually. So let me add entity. Okay, here what need to do is just add some class. Suppose I just use that product class. Okay, so let me use product class. Okay, and then you just specify some property over here. Okay, so let me add this property over here. Okay, so this product table contain product id, product name, and primary price. Okay, also you can just do, yeah, then further we require that order table as well. So let me create that order entity as well, because we'll show you the next upcoming session in unit of work. So that is required. Okay, so what I need to do, I just create order table as well, order table, and here just specify the order property as well. So let me create that order. Okay, so yeah, that is fine. This order table contain can order id and order date. Okay, as well as we have to just relationship. Okay, so between that one to many relationship we required in this product table and order table. Okay, so how we can achieve that, that also I just explained in my previous session, so you can just go to my channel and you can check out. Okay, but here I just go to again. So what I need to do, I just create a navigation property. Okay, to a product table. So let me create that. Okay, and then also if go to that order table, you have to just foreign key relationship maintain over there. Okay, so what you need to do, you just maintain your uh, go to the order table. Okay, here you just maintain your foreign key. So the order table has a product key foreign key, so just add it a foreign key over here, and also just adding the navigation property. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so entity done, relation also done, mapping also done. Now go to your db context class. Okay, so we have a product db set, we have an order db sets. Okay, and then what need to do, I need to just binding, just create a some foreign key and one-to-one relationship we have to specify over here. So how we can do that? It is very easy. Again, just override, and just call as a method on model creating. Okay, and once it's created, just leave it that part. Okay, and then just add your things over here. So let me add over here. Okay, now see, I have a model builder entity order, and then order has a you know has a product. Okay, and then it's have a many one to many relationship with the product with order. So just we have adding over here, and then also as a foreign key is a product id. Okay, so that is done for this db context. Okay, now we can use this db context in our repository implementation. Okay, so how we can do that? That is a very simple things. Okay, or simple way we can achieve these things. So let me create a constructor over here first. Okay, and in this constructor what I need to do, I need to just pass our db context object. Okay, and then what I need to do, I just initialize as a private field, and in the and just initialize that db context. Okay, so like this way. And then one more things we have to do, we have to create db sets. Okay, so ideally as of now I will just use a db set over here. Okay, I need to just create a db set, but yeah, this can be for further use, like if you use the unit of work, so we can use. But yeah, as of now you can use it over here, the repository pattern as well. Okay, so what I can do, just create a create a property, a private property. So let me just create that one also. Okay, so now just create a db set, a generic db set, and what I need to do, just set up the whatever entities we have getting of the db context, we can set over there in the db set. Okay, so that is done for this configuration of repository. Okay, now what I need to do, I just implement add delete everything. Okay, so one by one I will just implement everything. So first I will just add. Okay, so go to that app, add implementation. So I just need to add just db set, add a add async method. Okay, pass this entity, and then whatever our context, the save changes. Okay, and it is compiling just because actually I just using await async programming. So what I need to do, I need to specify the async. Okay, that is done. Then what I need to do, implementation further update. Okay, so let me update one also. Same things over here. Okay, so in this update what I need to do, I need to just pass it to async. Okay, that is also done. Then what I need to do, I need to just delete as well. So go to the delete one, let me implement the delete. Okay, this similar way what I need to do, just pass it to async. Okay, now what is the left, what is the pending? Okay, now get all by async. Okay, so that also will implement very simple way, like it is very simple and straightforward line. Okay, and just pass it to async. Okay, it is very simple. db set to list. Okay, and then get by id. Okay, this also is very simple things we can achieve over here, like this way. Okay, only just call the db set, and inside the db set just find the method, find method, and just pass the id. Okay, so see, this is implement done of the repository. Generic repository is uh, just ready. Okay, Now what I need to do, I need to create a one controller. Okay, and that controller can be use this repository, generic repository. Okay, and okay, and in this case I will show you one more things. Actually I need to add one more entity. For example, I need to add as a block entity. Okay, for example block. Okay, and just add it. So in this block can have this id, the name, and also the description. Okay, this is done, and there is no relationship. Okay, so that is done. And also I can specify in this db context. Okay, for the actually just why I just created for this another entity, because I will show you I use this generic repository, right? So I'm not creating any other repository to specify, okay, this is for the blog repository, and this is for the order repository, and this is for the product repository. Okay, so one repository that can be used this based on pass of the entity. I can use all the methods. Okay, so that is actually concept of generic repository. I just use generic repository, I just pass the entity. I can ability to use on all this functionality whatever is this generic repository contain, right? Like I don't need to specify again and again to every repository to add, delete, and get by all, and all this methods, right, which is this common. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so that is done. Now what I need to do, I just need to specify over here. That's it. Or let me copy this one and paste it over here and just pass it to whatever our new entity, it is a blogs, and then create a name is blogs. Okay, that's it. Okay, now what need to do, I need to just implement a controller. Okay, so let me delete the default controller and let me add it to as a new controller. Okay, so controller api empty add, like for example product with the generic repository, with the generic. Okay, repo. Okay, repository, and then add it. Okay, now just controller has created. Okay, now what I need to do, I need to just implement, just implement whatever I did. Okay, so let me create a constructor over here. Okay, and then here whatever our repository, so I just whatever our repository, our generic repository, so let me call it that I repository tree. Okay, let me bring the namespace. Okay, so this is that one, so let me call this one. And also we have to specify what is that repository. So this repository, for example, I call this product, right? So let me pass it to product entity, product. Okay, let me bring the namespace. Okay, it is here. Okay, now see, and also you can just create a variable, meaningful variable, product, and then repository. Okay, now I am able to get all the method which is we just created. Okay, so we can get all the method inside this here. Okay, so it is just create for product, as well as if I want to change to blog, so I can change this to blog. But don't worry, I'll just create another controller for this blog. I'll show you, like, okay, same repository I can use for multiple entity. Okay, that's why it's called as generic. So let me change it to whatever we have decided over here, product controller. Okay, now what I need to do, I just use that get endpoint, post endpoint, every endpoint I just need to implement. So let me copy paste somewhere. Okay, and just change it to this. Okay, now see, get endpoint is done. Only just call that variables, initialize variable, and that call this method. Okay, similar I can use for that get by id as well. Okay, and now also just change to variable name, which is not right. Okay, and also we'll just, and implement that post endpoint. Okay, similar, I need to change the variable over here. Okay, and here and just pass to body is a request, right? So that also I need to create it. Okay, so let me create that model as well. Okay, so let me add new folder and call it to just model, view model. Okay, and here what I need to do, I just need to just class of that product request. Okay, so let me call it to, let me create that class. Okay, and just create some property which is we required over here to pass to from the UI. Okay, and this is done. And then what I need to do, I need to call this one to an hour here. Okay, so now it's done. And what we are doing over here, it's very simple. Again, just call to our add method. Okay, which will add and just create actions and pass it to again that get by id method and return back to whatever we generated, right? So it is very straightforward and simple, don't worry about that. Okay, and let me implement that put endpoint. So this is the put endpoint. Again, be using that product request and just change it to that. Okay, and first what we are trying to do, first we are trying to get whatever id we are passing to update. So let me that make sure that ids exist in our db, right? So that's why we just using this. And then what I need to do, I just edit whatever property, just convert to our entity whatever expect entity. So I just created that entity and just pass it to our here. Okay, this is very simple again. And then finally we have to implement that delete. So let me create a delete these things, and then copy the repository and change it to here. That's it. Okay, for the controller perspective that is done. Okay, again I'm just checking before the delete it is exist or not. If it not exist, so then return back to not found. Okay, and if it is exist, then we have to trying to delete over here. Okay, so this is very simple implementation. Okay, now what I need to do, the major things I need to do over here now is a configuration. Okay, so how we can configure, or see, this is a, if you go to controller, so it is a dependent on this I repository, right? So that's why we have to resolve the dependency things. So how we can resolve that? So there's a very nice way we can do over here. It's a very simple way also. Okay, so builder dot services dot add scope. Okay, now type of, okay, and then I repository, and then specify the generic type and then implementation as well. Okay, so this is very simple. You can just let me zoom in for you. It is very simple. Add service, add scopes, and then your uh, declaration and as well as the concrete class. Okay, so okay, so let me change it to concrete class. So yeah, that is make sure like I repository implemented repository class, right? So that we have to make sure. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so what need to do next? Okay, so I need to use some provider, right? So I just use in here sql server. Okay, so that I need to configure as well in our web application in .NET Core. So how we can do that? It's very simple. .NET Core builder dot services dot that add db context. Okay, and then specify your context class, and then just use that lambda expression, and in here you just provide your that provider, right? So options dot use and then sql server, right? So that is not available right now, right? So just because I just use I'm not adding any NuGet package, so that I need to add, right? So what I can do, simply right click, go to NuGet packages and browse, and then call it to entity framework. And then now what need to do, it's already .NET Core is available, that is fine. And now you have to looking for .NET Core SQL Server. Okay, just pass it over here, .NET Core SQL Server. Okay, now this is that one, just use the latest one. Okay, now SQL Server is also done. One more package is actually required for .NET Core, that migration. So that is design. So let me choose that design, or let me find this .NET Core design, install that design. Okay, and one last thing is tools. Okay, yeah, this one. So that tools also required. So this four packages actually required for if you using entity framework. So that four packages. Okay, let me show you what are those. So okay, so these four packages required, like core, design, SQL Server, and tools. Okay, so move it to next over here, and then what you need to do, just try to use SQL Server. Okay, within the namespace. Okay, and then what you need to do here, just whatever uh, builder has a configuration, you can just pass it over here, builder dot configuration dot get connection string, and then you can specify your connection string name here. Okay, that is done. Okay, so now where you will get that connection thing, you can just get it from your uh, app.settings. Okay, so let me add some connection string of my, but you can use whatever your connection strings. Okay, so let me add here connection string. So this is very simple connection string, I just pass it over here, I using my connection string, and then copy this connection string name and then pass it over here. Okay, that's it. Okay, so all the implementation and configuration has been done. Now last thing is pending actually. Once you try to run, it will complaining, it will giving them some error. Okay, so why this giving an error? Because it's migration pending. Okay, so whatever db context, suppose I just creating a db context. Okay, let me change that db context name to, okay, let me change db name from here as of now repository db, right? Generic repository db, generic repo, or just call it web API DB. Okay, so this DB actually as of now it's not present. So what I need to do, I need to migrate. So how we can migrate? It's very simple. Go to your package.console. You can go directly over here as well. Go to NuGet package and open the package console. And here what need to do? Add migration. Okay, and just initialize initialize. Okay, initialize first db. Okay, and then hit enter, and let me show you that command. Okay, this is very simple command, add migration. So if it is not available, then definitely you miss that package. Actually the tool packages is required, entity framework tool. Okay, so now see, it is done. And once you, it is automatically generated also. See, this generated the blocks table, product tables, and order tables. Okay, so every tables is generated. Also you will able to see that migration folder also generated. Okay, now what you need to do, you just update that db. Okay, so let me update database. Let me show you it done. It is little bit zoom, and let me hit enter. Okay, now it's just creating the schema, but now it will just adding. Okay, now see here there's some error. Okay, so this is actually come in .NET 8. Actually it is saying I just use some globalizations in variants mode, right? So if you facing this issue for .NET 8, okay, what you need to do, go to API and see here these settings actually the provide by default. So what I need to do, I just as of now put it false, so that error will gone. Okay, let me call it false. Okay, and now again just update that migration. Okay, now see, this time is done, everything is created. Okay, now our db is created. I'll show you in our SQL server as well. Let me open SQL server meanwhile partially. Okay, and meanwhile just running our application. Okay, my SQL server also opened, and now if I go to db, now see, this one we just created db mentioned about db context class, right? In configuration. Okay, and now also you're able to see here, you will see some tables. Okay, those three tables we just created with this migration table. Okay, now there is no data as of now. If I just querying this data, let me show you. Select star from product, right? So let me execute this. Now see, there is a no data as of now, but yeah, we just post some data via the API. So see, also it is running in this listening port, our web listening port, and all the endpoint also created. Okay, so let me first check it, the get endpoint. Now see, there's a no data because we don't have any data. Now just add some data. Let me add some data. For example, fan, and then price is like for 6,000 or 600, whatever. Just create it. Now see, it is just added. Okay, and also you can just verify over here. Previously it was nothing. Now get, now you can get over here, as well as you can just check it over here as well. Now data is available db as well. Okay, similar I can just, whatever I can do, I can just get by id as well. Okay, let me add, execute. So this data is available. Okay, similar I can just put as well. Okay, and just change it to cooler to something, fan to like desktop, and change it to price, for example 6,000 or something, and just update. Okay, and make sure it is update or not. Let me edit. Yeah, it is updated, as well as you can see in the db as well. See, it is updated. Okay, and now finally I want to delete as well. Okay, so let me delete one, execute. Now it's delete. Let me confirm in the db. Now see, it is delete. Okay, so this is a way actually we can implement I repository, I means that generic repository. And in next session we'll learn like how we can implement unit of work this with this using a generic repository. Okay, so till now, thank you and have a nice day, and don't forget to like, subscribe and share.